Hey Kate, thank you so much for your patience on this. I am so sorry you don't already have these answers. It's been a crazy time, so really appreciate your patience. So your first question was, can you explain your roles and responsibilities with your current position? So, I am founder of the Believe Initiative as my role, and my, I guess, tasks or duties, you could describe them as, are kind of multifaceted because the Believe Initiative wants to be in as many schools as possible. But because schools don't have a lot of funding, we have to find resources to help pay for that so that we can go to lots of schools and make sure that money isn't the reason why they can't have a Believe Initiative event. So part of my job is to seek corporate sponsorship so that way we can get some of that support and we can afford to go to these schools without having to charge them. So finding sponsorship and corporate partnership is one role. The second role is actually building content, and that means the speeches that Believe Initiative does, that means workshops that we design, that means the actual Believe leadership lessons that we have as part of our extracurricular programming, and I work with teachers on what we want involved and what the outcomes should be, and then they help us create that. So it's sponsorship, it's content creation, then we work on actually building relationships with schools, someone like your mom, with other schools all across Canada, of helping them get familiar with what Believe Initiative is, what our mission is, why we want to get involved with their schools. And so we build those relationships with schools. And then we need to make sure that once the schools say, okay, fine, you can come in, well, now we need to actually make sure that what we are delivering is actually impactful on students. So not only does the content that we help design with the teachers, we now need to make it relevant to the students. And so we also work on interviewing and actually engaging young people to say, okay, what problems are you facing? What do you want help with? Is this helpful? What should we give you as a reward for going through this program? Is it volunteer hours? Is it a reference letter? Is it what do you want? So it's sponsorship, content development. It is kind of another stakeholder, is what we would call it, is like engaging with schools, then engaging with students. And then the last element of my job is actually just operating the ins and outs of the business so itself. And so that would be accounting and invoicing, that would be emailing back and forth to keep those relationships up. There would be managing Emily, who's the one of our employees that helps run all of this stuff. And so it touches a lot of different areas, which I absolutely love because it's something new every single day. But it certainly keeps your brain on a spin because you have so many different things to do, which everyone does. So that's one of your questions. The second thing is, what obstacles have you faced in getting to where you are today? I think a big obstacle that we just recently faced was that we used to run Believe Initiative programming in schools, as you may remember. And we would travel to these schools, go in person, and we realized that a summit experience worked really well, where we would get on the ground with the students. We'd have a big stage, we'd make it an event, and that would help us really engage with the students, really help them get excited about working on a Believe Passion project. And we would work with teachers to bring our curriculum into the classrooms. But when COVID hit and we couldn't go into schools because no events were allowed, no assemblies, and teachers were so overwhelmed with just making sure their students got to do their core programming, it was very hard for them to bring in different curriculum that wasn't just the core curriculum because everyone was dealing with so many obstacles. And so we couldn't engage with that many teachers. We couldn't go into the schools and we didn't know what to do. Does this mean the program is over? And what we had to do was actually make a huge transition to online like everyone else. But rather than looking to engage with the teachers in classrooms, we actually instead pivoted towards actually engaging with student leaders who would become chapter heads, and they would run the chapter after school instead of in school. And we would look for these student leaders to run the chapter after school with their peers. That way we could still get the same result of impacting young people, of helping them build Believe Passion projects, but we could overcome the obstacles that COVID was placing on schools and teachers at that time. So that was a big obstacle that we had to learn how to adapt and change and figure out a new way. And I'm so grateful that we did because it's gone even better than when we used to do the in-person events, which has been so exciting. What advice would I pass on to someone interested in doing what I'm doing? this isn't even necessarily relevant to just what I am doing, but anyone who's looking to carve a new path or go down a different path, or like just pursue any career goal, is to ask for help. Find someone who is potentially in that position and say like, what what did you do, or where did you start? And so like, generally my biggest piece of advice to ask someone who wants to get to a place that they aren't currently at is to ask for help. And that can come from like, hey, would you sit down and have a coffee with me and tell me about, what you believe the first step is? Or would you let me know kind of like where I can find a resource on X? And for me, getting involved in speaking, the first place I started was actually using my connections, because I loved speaking, and that's how the Believe Initiative really got started. It was just originally just me sharing my Olympic story. And how I got opportunities to speak was I spoke at my parents' friends' kids' schools. Hopefully you followed that chain. But you can use the people closest to you and leverage those connections to find the resource or the thing that you need most in order to take one step forward in your journey on whatever path it is. So for me, it was about just finding opportunities to speak. So my best advice, I guess, for someone looking to do what I'm doing is ask for help and then look for any opportunity to speak. Maybe that's presenting at the board meeting of like the student council, or maybe that's delivering grace at dinner, at your family dinner, or maybe that's, getting to read out the announcements at school. Whatever it is, an opportunity to exercise speaking, that would be my best advice, is because, the more you do practice and reps, the better you get. Your fourth question is, why are you passionate about your job or role? I love this question. So I think I'm so passionate about it because I was so lucky to have so many amazing mentors and people in my life that, helped me get to where I was in sport. And then even in speaking, I have some amazing mentors who are constantly giving me feedback and helping me dream big and imagine what's possible. And I think that, I'm so lucky to have found those people. But not everyone gets those people in their lives. Not everyone has those people close enough to them that they get to really like absorb that inspiration. And so I'm so passionate about what I do because I know how lucky I am. I know how much like I've been so fortunate to have incredible humans around me. And so I want to be that person for as many people as possible, people who don't have that in their life. And I think I also am just so passionate about what I do because I see the result. I see the effect on these young people all across Canada when they truly see what they're capable of. And so, it's just really, really inspiring to me. And I love getting to do that for other people and being that person, because it can feel sometimes when we ask other people for help, we think we're being selfish by just like taking the information from them. But really, if you think about any time anyone asks you for help, it's like, it's also so nice to give to people. And just, you feel so fulfilled by being like, oh yeah, I'm making a difference. This feels nice. Number 5 is, what has been your favorite part of your career so far? Whew, oh my goodness. My favorite part of my career so far? Probably just the fact that my favorite part is that it just keeps growing. Like the Believe Initiative keeps growing. And I think my favorite part is just like beating our goals and seeing what's possible. And when I first started this, I only decided I was going to do a speech at 10 schools. I said, okay, let's just do 10. Let's see, maybe people want this, maybe people don't want this. And from 10 schools, it grew to 20 schools. And then from 20 schools, it grew to like summit events. And then from summit, it created curriculum. And then from curriculum, we created the Believe Leadership chapters. And like, it's just gone so much further than I ever thought possible when I first just was playing around, just trying to see what I could do. And so, I don't know, it's like, maybe my favorite part has been this transition to Believe chapters after school, because it's just the next step. And I'm sure, my favorite part might be whatever the next version of this is, or like how we continue to grow. So that's a hard question. I don't know. Like, I guess my favorite part is what we've been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time and how we've been able to grow. What is a long-term goal / plan you have for the future of your career in your current position? So the goal I keep saying out loud, so that not hopefully, because I believe it will come true, is I keep saying that we will be in 1,000 schools in 3 years. That's what I keep saying. And right now we're only in 54 schools. So that feels silly to say because 54 to 1,000 is very significant. And 3 years is not a lot of time. And so even though it feels silly, I know that it felt silly to say I was going to go to the Olympic Games when I was sitting out on the sidelines with a stress fracture in my femur. And so it feels important to say it out loud because you never know what can happen when people hear that goal and people help you get there. And I know that with 54 schools, if 54 schools tell 54 schools who tell 54 schools, maybe 1,000 isn't as far away as I thought. And that's my mission. That's my goal, is to engage amazing student leaders like you who tell their friends, who tell their friends, who tell their friends. And then you never know. We could be at 1,000 schools at that goal in 3 years. So that's where I'm headed. That's where I'm hoping to be in 3 years. And thanks for asking these really great questions to have me thinking about my goals and highlighting some of my favorite moments. So hope this helps you, and great to see you, Kate. Bye.